Welcome to the Voiceover Gurus podcast.
This is Dave Johnston, and this is my VO journey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Voiceover Gurus podcast. Very special one today because we are revisiting our VO journeys. And these are folks that have started out recently. And we dive a little bit into their history, what got them to this point, and it's all sorts of interesting stuff. So today, you're actually a longtime student at this point, Dave.
Yeah, it's going on 3.5 years now.
Yeah, Dave Johnston, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Now, where are you located?
I say Des Moines. I'm about 60 miles south of Des Moines, which is Manson. They go, Manson? Like Charles Manson? No, Manson, Iowa. And so I just say Des Moines. So there we go. Mm-hmm.
Very nice. And now you had some serious cold weather recently. Oh my God, the pictures you were showing us.
Oh my gosh, we're talking about 50 below zero wind chill temperatures. And when you have to go outside, obviously, they say don't go outside. Who would? But I had to go outside to clear some pipes, and it was 45. I clocked it 45 below zero.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was out there in about 5 minutes, and I couldn't move. It was time to go back to the porch. So
wow.
And it happens because there's no boundaries here. There's no fences. It's just that wind just comes sweeping through the plains there, and there's nothing to stop it. And it goes right through you. And it was just bitter this for about 3 weeks. And now it's like 60s tomorrow. It's Iowa.
This must have been, it's probably a pretty good place to have an audio booth because there's not much sound outside, right?
Exactly. The way my studio set in the corner of the house, they say, well, put it in the interior because then you have an outerior wall or whatever. Mine's perfect because I just really don't have the noise factor.
That's wonderful. And a beautiful house, too. So
thank you.
I want to hear all about how you got started because you've got an interesting background, a lot of which I didn't know about until you told me like a couple of years ago. But yeah, please share for everybody. How did you get started?
Well, I have to really rewind the clock way back to when I was actually 8 years old. Right? This is like, we all have long time stories. But I got fascinated with the human voice. And this was really weird, but I'm going to say it. My parents were dairy farmers. And so I used to sing when the milk tank was empty. I would step up to the ladder, sing into that big galvanized tank, and just listen to the voice reverberate.
Wow.
And it still gives me goosebumps today because I would do my singing lessons with the milk tank lid up and just hear the different tones. And so I go, wow, I got fascinated with the human, I just got fascinated with it. And so from there on, went into elementary and then didn't get involved into singing until I was in high school. Again, part of the human voice, just loved the singing voices, the choirs, and all the voices blending together. And I thought, I want to do that,
Wow.
And so I took on a voice coach for vocal performance. And
this is when you were in high school?
When I was in high school.
Okay.
Then I went into a junior college program and studied vocal performance. Opera. Oh my God, I want to do opera.
Wow.
That's where I was. And I'm going, oh my. So then came the arias, then came the breathing exercises, so I came into voiceover with kind of a well-crafted diaphragm.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Which helped a lot. That being said, though, I got lazy and started just not doing good breathing habits. And I'd come to the end of the script, the 30-second script, and go, what? Breathing's good, but not that,
Wow.
And just catch yourself breathing. And that being said, I started working out vocally again. I can't say enough about that because it's like when it comes to audio, I use Adobe Audition. And because of that trained diaphragm, I don't have to do a lot of breathing deleting.
That's interesting.
Because of the muscle is there. I don't always, but when I use it, I find out, wow, I don't have to delete so many breaths so much.
So how do you train for that? Like on your own now when you're saying that you kind of, work on it again to get that muscle going, what do you do?
Basically, I'll lay down and have Leo or someone put a stack of books on me to where I can't barely lift them with my stomach.
Oh my goodness, a stack of them. Because see, I always talk about putting one on there, but you're talking a stack.
And when I started this exercise, I lived in California and we had the Los Angeles directory, okay? Big, okay? So it had 2 or 3 of them, and I would just watch my diaphragm move that, phone book up,
Wow.
down, like up,
So
down,
just
up, down.
breathing, or would you sing while you're
Just
laying
breathing.
down?
Like when I inhale,
Mm-hmm.
it brings the book up, and when I exhale, it brings the book down. You're breathing out, you're bringing the
Mm-hmm.
book down. When you breathe in, you're bringing the book up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you're kind of this wave effect, and that
Yeah.
really strengthens the wow.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that's a that stuck with me. And then after that point, I said, I'm going to take some voice acting lessons. And so this was in college, and I lived in Studio City or fairly close. And I found this woman in the paper. I didn't know who she was, but come to find out, she's a legend,
Oh, really?
uh, Louise Chamis. And I knew some of her backstory, but very eclectic woman. And I went into her home. And this is in the 90s. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I step into her home. She's about 5'6", and she introduces herself. And this is back in 90. I can never will forget this. It was a spot for Peter Pan peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
She sets the script up there, and she just goes, "Okay, give me a read." And that's just the way she said it. And it was like, and she said it with so much life and so much smile and so much energy. And then I did a little bit of it, and she goes, "Did you bring somebody with you?"
Oh.
And I'm, "No." And she goes, "Well, I heard an announcer in there, so send him back by taxi cab." And I'm going, "What?" And this was all new to me. Okay.
Yeah.
This whole thing. And even back then they were telling the announcer to go home.
Wow. It started
And
early on.
I know, right? I'm thinking, and fast forward, studying voice and taking different voice sessions together. I looked for different opportunities to use my voice. Community theater. I actually answered an ad for being a gunfighter. That was one of my best jobs ever, being a gunfighter in an old West town.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Because there was an audition in the paper, and you have to understand, Canyon City, Colorado. There's nothing there except a big prison
Okay.
and an amusement park next to the Royal Gorge. So you got really really interesting industry going on there. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's like I saw the ad in the paper, and I'm going, you know what? And this is before I did some actual plays. No, I did a couple of stage plays. But anyway, I said I could do this. And so I drove off to Canyon City, went up to this old West town, and I got it. I was in my car, and I saw this beautiful town. I go, and the first thing I thought of, what in the heck am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And the other voice said, "You're taking a risk."
Wow.
So I said, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into the old West town, got the audition, and she goes, we got a stunt guy that's going to help you work with the stunts. You know about horses and stuff. And she goes, "But that voice is perfect for our town."
Oh.
And so that's what got me started. I thought, wow, they found something interesting there. And she goes, "Here's scripts and here's this and that. But I want you're in the shows because you do have the acting, you have the look or different things going on." But she goes, "I really want you to start with announcing the shows too."
Oh, how
So
cool.
I announced the shows. So I was able to go into gunfighter, Blake Russell character, and then I was the announcer. Then I would bounce back into the character in the gunfighter. And so it was a great journey. I will never forget it.
That's
ever.
amazing.
And what people are drawn to, busloads of Amish people. The Amish and the Germans love cowboys.
Really?
The Chinese would come out by the busloads. They'd love, and we had this big gunfighter poster, and we'd sign it, and the Chinese loved us. And so that was a fun time.
Wow.
And
That is
I
so
thought, well,
unique.
that was a unique adventure. And I thought, well, I'm glad I took that risk.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved up from there, went on to Colorado Springs. And then that's where I got into more radio.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had this luxury of having a second studio. In other words, I would go in there, and you know what that's like. You go in there and just play what you want, do your music beds, and just play around.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for like almost 2 years. And so I got quite an ear for laying down music beds to go with commercials, or you train your ear a certain way to lay down. So I kind of took on that trade too. So.
And you just, because you enjoyed it?
Yes. I enjoyed it. I was only on the air. I was overnight air personality. So my demographics were lonely housewives at 2 a.m. Okay. It's like, But anyway, it's like I was on there, and it was basically a sponsored radio test. It did have commercial sponsors, of course, but I would either be recording broadcast or I would be recording commercials or PSAs or something like that. But then an earthquake happened at 4:30 in the morning. Right, radio station's placed at 14 stories high. It's on the top floor. Okay.
Wow.
The monitors start swinging in the radio station, and at that time they had put stabilizers at the bottom of the tower, so you could, when the earthquake started, I go, uh-oh, and you could hear the stabilizers moving on the bottom floor.
Oh my God.
And I look out, and sure enough, it was just all the lights went out, and I'm above the 101 freeway.
This is Colorado
like
Springs, right?
No, oh, I'm sorry, I went back way too far. Sorry. Wind up.
Let's wind back.
So I back up, call your travel agent. No, but that was in California when I was at radio. That was just a personal experience I had.
Oh,
we went off the war zone kind of thing. But then when I got to Colorado, I went back into radio. Several years has passed, and then I went into radio and that's when I started doing a lot more voiceover production, where it was a lot more modern, because in California I was still doing the dice and splice thing on the reel-to-reel.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so. And I never caught on. I thought, this Adobe Audition is going to be a piece of cake, because I used to do it the old fashioned. It's not a piece of cake. I mean, it's a learning curve.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and Pro Tools, God bless them. That's kind of way over the top, but it's a great program. But anyway, you learn all this stuff as you go along. And so, I guess that's it as far as my journey. I'm always looking as taking classes, coaches.
Right.
I know, like 4 years ago, I ran across you guys. I was listening to a podcast, actually called The Queen Bee, which is Kay Bass. And she talks about women in voiceover. And I was listening. The reason I was listening to this is because she had a couple of speakers on there that I like, Tracy and a couple of other people that I know. And I thought, wow, this is great. She's doing this women in voiceover podcast. And then I started listening to more and more podcasts. Then I came across yours, and I go, oh, wow, this is interesting, real, raw, and relevant. Yeah. They all say that, wonder what this is about, But it's true. I mean, you just groomed all, I've been with you for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of these guys that are going to broadcast about all my jobs. I'm just not the guy that's going to do that.
Yeah.
I give a lot of accolades to those voice talent that's in our group that really shine and are ablaze with their passion for voiceover and to get these great gigs. But I've always come from the place of, and they're not desperate. No, I don't feel anyone in our group is like desperate.
No.
Or they don't have a mentality like, I hope I get it. I hope I get it. Every one of us, me included, work hard. Mm-hmm. We know the discipline that you push towards us, move us toward to be the best that we can be accountable. I can't say enough about that. I've just listened to the last podcast that had Troy, what I call the King's Men. You had 4 guys on there.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, right, my mind went to Humpty Dumpty, because I thought, here I am on the wall, full-time job, trying to balance all this crud, and I feel like I'm falling off the wall sometimes, and I listen to these guys, and I'm going, wow, they've been down that road too.
Yes, yeah, which is why it's so important that we share it, Yes,
and I go, when you have that point of connection, it's powerful. Mm-hmm. It's like, Tom Deere, I look at the accolades that I have that I can look up to. I'm sure you've heard of Art Brown. He's a comedic, a voice actor, been around quite a while, but I say, there's a lot of stuff. But he goes, if you're going to stand, he's funny. He goes, if you're going to stand on a giant's shoulders, at least wash your socks. Oh, interesting. Because we as voice talents walk in a lot of giants.
Yeah, yeah.
You're accountable still. I'm excited because in March I think I'm going to take a one-on-one course with Alyssa.
With Alyssa? Oh, nice.
Alyssa, never have done that, and I'm thinking.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I have not had a one-on-one with her, so I'm going to do that in March. And I'm thinking, just another way of peeling the onion back.
Yeah. Yeah, she's great, as you know.
She's good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Going to give you that different perspective. Now, Dave, didn't you spend some time traveling the country for a job? Did you do that too?
Actually, it was a singing tour.
Okay.
it was a musical that I traveled with, and it started. I had saw a concert in Southern California, and I saw them perform. I go, I'll do that. I'm free. And so I took a year and a half of my life and went on the bus and did a road. I wish I would have wrote a book called The American Home.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that's where we stayed, in American homes, and it was fabulous.
What is
And
American Home?
uh, what is that?
What do you mean? You stayed where?
Oh, we stayed in host homes, and
Oh,
so wherever
actual
we were.
American homes. Okay.
Yeah,
I
I'm
thought it was
sorry.
like
Yeah,
a chain of hotels or something.
yeah, really. That sounds like it. American homes. Yeah, rate $69.95. Okay, yeah. But it's like we stayed in all these homes, and in the fall we were in the beautiful part of the country. In the summer we were in the West Coast near the beach, and it was just an amazing thing. Like I said, I wish I would have wrote a book. You learn a lot about people
Yeah.
traveling. One of my voice coaches said a long time ago, said, go to the public library or go to a public place and just sit there and watch people and listen to their voices. And then I heard your story when you travel sometimes, or you'll hear someone with a Southern voice. I think you were talking about someone that was, and you took on that persona, and it's because you heard a voice. I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you took that on, and I thought, how interesting.
We're natural mimics. Most of us are natural mimics, and that really helps as a
Right.
voice talent.
Hmm.
But wow, you've
So,
had some
yeah.
amazing. I mean, you've done a lot of living.
Yeah, a lot of living in my 66. I'll be, 67 in June.
But you've
Yeah.
like you said before, you've taken chances. You have gone for stuff. You didn't sit back. You know what I mean? You tried things.
Right. Things that I just would go out of and I thought, no, I need to transfer that over into my marketing skills because I was a telemarketer. I also was a hotel switchboard operator for 5 years.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Wow.
So I got the impression, you know what? I'm going to be the first voice they hear that welcomes them to the Sheraton. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for calling the Sheraton. And those 4 words alone, I've captivated them.
Wow.
And I thought about that job. And now that I've had coaching and, I'm accountable to you and a few others, I'm thinking a lot of my jobs always catered to the use of my voice. Or it seemed like I was looking for that way to always use the voice. And my last adventure was when I did Scream in the Dark with a college group where you just dress up for Halloween and work in a haunted factory for 4 nights.
Yes.
And they have a
I know
box
people
of
that do
green
that.
apples there, that so you can eat that before takes, so you're not wearing your voice out. But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But who thinks to do that?
Right.
It's all of us, all of us, most of us do. But I took that risk. Just things like that. I thought, okay, you need to take some risk in marketing now.
But you know what? All of those life lessons and the things that you've done, Dave, have really contributed because your natural read, you're very good at weaving that story. You have a very good storyteller tone, and very natural. And when we give you scripts in our workouts, I mean, it's like you connect to it in a way that no one else does. And I know everyone is unique, but
Right,
your
right.
interpretation of a script is never one that I would be like, oh, yeah, it's totally predictable. It's not predictable. It's because it's like all of your years of experience and all the different things that you've done, you bring
Right.
to your reads.
Well, thank you for that because I think the thing of it is the instruction that I receive is I'm so grateful that if I go out and seek proper instruction, there's so much people teaching this voice stuff
Yes.
anymore. It's just out of control. But long story, if you just keep that tunnel narrow with a few voice coaches, a few people that keep you fine tuned, then I get excited because I start hearing my own growth.
Mm-hmm.
I start hearing my own thing, and it's weren't you somewhere in Europe, somewhere where you first heard yourself over the air, or you heard something? Were you in Switzerland or somewhere? I thought you were somewhere and you heard yourself for the first time.
No, I mean,
Well, where were you when you heard yourself for the first time?
well, it depends. I mean, I worked in radio for a while, so I was doing stuff there, but
Oh yeah, right.
I don't really remember the first time I actually heard myself on something. Went to Europe a lot, but I don't think I've ever heard myself over there.
Okay. Mhm.
So what do you think is the most difficult part of becoming a voice actor? Do you think it's the marketing?
I think it's, as Tom Deere would say, is developing the business acumen and the habits it takes, building the systems that it takes to be a productive voice person and a productive and making money, because right now the dilemma too is that my business expenses are about, I'm just being transparent, $300 to $400 a month without no money coming in.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when I talk to various people, they say, well, that's about average.
Yeah.
And then I talk to a voice talent and they go, I'm not going to get Source Connect until I get the job. I go, well, it's a little too late then. I put all the tools in place. I pay for Source Connect. I probably haven't used it in about 3 months. Okay. But it's there when I need it,
Right.
That's the whole idea. When I talk to several people, they go, well, I just don't have, I can't afford that. And I totally get it. But you really can't afford pass up a client either.
Right.
Or, I don't work with Dave. He's a nice guy, but he doesn't have the tools, And so that's the deal. You guys have kind of taught me too, is to be patient. I remember when I made the demo, I thought, well, gosh, it's, we're these months in. I'm going, they know what's going on, and they have the ear for when that demo's ready. Boom, and it all just came together,
Right.
all the timing that came together, being patient. And so, and the challenging thing is too, I do have a full-time job. Okay. And dividing that time like a piece of pie. I'm a cook. I'm going to put everything into food. Okay. I have to divide all those slices up, even social media. I think, you know what, if I'm going to be accountable to a group, 2 or 3, that's it. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to be accountable to like the Voiceover Gurus, and then you guys don't hear from me in 6 months.
Right.
And no one's ever pressured to reply or to put anything on our post. It's just that if you're going to be a part of it, then be a part of it.
You commit.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
It's like, full-time job, this, that. But if I want to post something, it's going to be something of value.
That's great.
You guys could care less about the butter in my refrigerator. It's like, unless it's parquet and it's made me $100,000 on that ad. But no. So yeah, that's the hardest thing is balancing. And I think being accountable helps me to be balanced because I follow people like Mark Scott, who's the top tier of marketing, or I follow these people that are, I say these people, these friends, colleagues that help me in all these areas. And then I listened to these 4 guys on our podcast yesterday, and I work on a job to where I have the luxury of cooking and doing all this stuff and then listening to all this at the same time.
That's right.
And I was hearing Troy, and I know his backstory quite a bit. And I'm thinking, here's this Southern voice of a genre that he's another gentleman that took a risk.
Yes.
A big risk. He did not go into the stereotype. Your market, your voice is only for this market. So I honor him for that. He took a risk. And all these gentlemen, I look at their background and their stories and the jobs they're getting, and it's all tenacity and passion. I mean, it's like,
it really is.
So,
do you find that because you have that full-time job, like you're saying, there's different pieces of the pie that you have to divvy up every day. You find
Right.
that is just taking, it makes it a longer process to try to get the marketing done and to get those auditions out?
I think it's once I have written this out and I've got a template, well, then it becomes automatic habit. And because what happens is I learn to do this every day. In other words, I don't break the habit. I'll try like LinkedIn. Okay, I'm going to do LinkedIn marketing today for an hour. Now this is around a full-time job.
Right.
Turn your oven down, go to your office, boom, that kind of thing. Okay. And so I'll do LinkedIn for an hour and no more. But then it's precise marketing on LinkedIn. What am I looking for? Who am I marketing to on LinkedIn? And that whole hour is just that way. And then I'll go maybe, and it's only 3 hours a day while I'm doing this.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. And hopefully making 20 contacts a day, either through email, follow-up, or just sending my website out or whatever. And so that way, if I stay intact and write that down, that's a piece of the pie, then it becomes a habit. I literally take on an atomic habit, like James Clear talks about. You just take on that habit and you just do it.
That's great.
Screw resistance and bite it in the butt. So it's like that's the biggest thing we fight, I think, as talent and as artists is resistance. I think that's we resist. I don't know.
Well, we
Anyway,
resist within ourselves, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. And I'm touche for you for having the compartment of the mental aspect of what we do,
Yeah.
having a healthy mind.
Yeah.
I thank God we spend half our time in a padded cell.
I know.
You know, like, we might as well, we deal with some of that issues, and some of us are not wired for that, and some of us are.
Right, exactly. I know we're trying to get
You know?
off the ground a mental health workout because we have that fantastic psychotherapist, Anna Hindell.
Yes.
And probably looking at the end of March doing it, but it's going to be a very casual, laid back thing because this it shouldn't be intimidating. It's more about finding out some techniques and tools that can help you in the booth to get you through
Yes.
pressure situations, anxiety, things like that. So I just feel like it's so important, but it is kind of tough to approach because some people look at it and go, oh my God, you're going to put me on a couch and examine me? And it's like, no, that's not
Right.
it. It's just more learning some techniques.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes us all kind of real together as the voiceover gurus is we talk about these things that they're not pushed under a rug or
Right.
and we deal with the losses and and it's not, it doesn't have to be a Debbie Downer journey. It's just a part of our journey. It's kind of nice that we can all come together and share the victories, the defeats, and the other thing I wanted to touche for the best reads because you've provided an audition platform, a practicing auditioning platform. When every time you throw a script up there, here's the best script read. It's like throwing an audition notice out there.
Yeah, that's turned out to be a pretty good thing for everybody. Everybody seems to be happy with it. We do it in the Circle community for those of you that don't know, but we have our Circle community, which is free to join. And every Monday I post a script up there and you can audition or not. It's not a real job, obviously. It's just for fun, but everyone posts their audition and then you vote on your comrades of who you think did it the best. And it's just kind of cool because you're getting a little bit of feedback. Not that I'm coaching you online, but, by having that support of the other folks that are also doing it, I think really means a lot. And people are connecting that way too.
I think just the tool of listening to one another.
Yes.
I'll hit their play button and I'll hear how they're interpreting the script and you can learn so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really cool. So it's touche for that one.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So, okay, we know the difficulties. So I know you said you didn't you get a client a while back that's overseas or something, someone you work for?
Yes, in France, I hear from once a quarter. I do jobs for them, and it's just kind of an oddity because their business acumen is different than ours. Their whole approach to business, and it's interesting. You got to almost learn if you're going to market to Europe. You got to learn their business tactics. It's different than ours, especially France. I'm not sure what's up there, but love France, and they're good people. But it's like this is just an oddity. Out of the blue, they'll send me a job, but they'll ask certain specifics that the client should already know. A talent should never be in the position to where they have to answer questions that the client should already know.
Right.
That's not a good way to start the relationship off. It's like, anyway, and that's happened before too. But, I got it resolved because it was just a miscommunication of error on her part. But she was actually talking to the wrong talent. Now that to me is a big boo-boo. I mean, this really had to do with another talent. Didn't have nothing to do with me. She just sent it to me by mistake.
Oh.
And I'm going, okay. Hope the cracks don't get too much bigger there in that place.
Yeah,
But
that's
no,
interesting.
that was kind of interesting. But anyway, things happen, but we have to have our acumen together all the time. I remember some time ago it's been a while ago, and when I was part of the voiceover membership, when you listen to the podcast and stuff, and you had done the workflow video.
The masterclass membership, yeah.
Yes, the masterclass workflow was one of the most impressive and the most time cutter things. And so I encourage you to do something like that again, too. That was excellent.
Yeah, that's a course in the masterclass membership. And there's a downloadable PDF and a graphic that I created that basically just spells out my process of auditioning and what I do and how as far as organizational workflow goes, what I do, what folders I set up. And it's an organizational tool that that has worked for me for a lot of years, and I'm always, I like to share it in case it's going to help you too. But yeah, if you join the masterclass membership, you can see that very easily. Masterclass
fun
membership.
stuff.
You were a member way back
Yeah, I
when,
was.
but now
Yes.
Masterclass membership offers a half-hour mentor session with one of the coaches, which we weren't
Exactly.
giving
It's
before.
going to bite the bullet on that one, yes, because then
Yeah.
you get that opportunity, which is well worth the value.
Let me
Yes,
tell you,
exactly.
the beginning of the month, people book their
Yes.
half hours because you can work on anything you want. You can
Right.
work on have us listen to a demo. We can go through a performance.
That's perfect. I'm
Yeah.
jumping on board in that in March for sure.
Because and think about it too. I'm doing my big pitch here. $49 a month that you can
Yeah.
cancel anytime. You can then get discounts for the workouts and any coaching. Too.
Well, but the chances of that one fee of 49 is going to be very great, and you're going to have the rest of the month. So it's like perfect.
So, do you have a dream client that you would love to book, Dave?
It would actually be a producer on the History Channel.
Oh, cool.
He does. I've sent him some stuff actually. When I say he's not a main producer for the History Channel, but he's like a subsidiary, and he has people. He knows people, and he liked several of my reads, like Facing the Tide documentary. He says you just have a very I guess he just said you have a very inviting and captivating or something like that.
Yeah, I find it with a lot of warmth. Mm-hmm.
And so he says we'd like, that's the guy I'd like to work with. So I keep biting the bullet on that one. So
You good. You
But,
keep contacting him.
yes, exactly. But I wanted to share something from Paul Strickwerda, which I have a whole lot of respect for.
Yeah, he's
and
great.
This one paragraph has carried me through some very, very difficult times. And Paul himself suffered, I believe, a stroke in his own studio.
Yeah, he did.
Long time, and a lot of us have been afflicted with such tragedy, and but he says, I firmly believe that we're not helpless leaves in the wind. I believe that we can harness the power of the wind and adjust ourselves by the virtue of the choices we make.
Yep. Amen to that.
So I'm glad I made some right choices. So
Well, all your
glad to be a part
experiences
today,
are all of your experiences are great that you're sharing them because it's just so interesting to hear people's
Oh.
history and what motivated you and what brought you to the place that you're at right now too. So always a pleasure. Thank you so much, Dave.
well, thanks for having me. This is great. Great stuff to share.
Yeah, definitely.
Take care.
That wraps
Keep
up
the
another.
passion.
Yeah, keep the good fight going. That wraps up another episode, and this is of our VO journey, of Dave's VO journey, and we'll see you real soon. Thanks for listening.